Get ready to explore Paris during the 1700s, a time when this amazing European city was at its peak. This was 100 years filled with beauty, new ideas, and finally, big changes. We're going to use powerful AI tools to bring old drawings and artworks back to life, making them look like real photographs. This will help you see exactly what daily life looked like in Paris, France, during the 18th century. Let's dive in. During the 1700s, around 600,000 residents called Paris home, making it one of the largest cities worldwide. The city served as a hub for creative works, deep thinking, and cultural life. Famous thinkers such as Voltaire and Rousseau lived here during the Enlightenment, challenging traditional ideas about organizing society. However, underneath the impressive royal buildings and beautiful designs existed a city full of extreme differences. Rich nobles enjoyed comfortable lives near the Seine River, but most everyday people faced hard times in packed, dirty areas. Before this video ends, you'll witness AI-generated pictures showing the French Revolution coming alive, the dramatic events of 1789, when years of unfair treatment finally burst into fighting that transformed France and the entire globe forever. Here we see the Seine River facing toward the Ile de la Cité, captured in artwork from the 1750s by Nicolas Jean-Baptiste Raguenet. The Pont Neuf crosses over the water, though it has been standing for more than 150 years since finishing in 1607. The Seine functioned as a busy waterway, filled with wooden rafts for lumber, boats carrying wine shipments from Burgundy, and trading vessels bringing coal and wheat to feed the city's 600,000 residents. The riverside areas buzzed with dock workers and cart drivers moving products through dirty roads. You can spot the Institut de France with its shiny gold dome on the right side, constructed during the 1660s. Far away stand the two towers of Notre Dame Cathedral, sitting on the Ile de la Cité, the old island where Paris first started. However, the river wasn't clean at all. Untreated waste from homes and factories poured straight into the Seine, making terrible smells. Despite this pollution, Paris residents still got their drinking water from this dirty river. Nowadays, the Seine has been made clean, and the riverside spots have become UNESCO World Heritage locations. This old print by Peter Schenk displays Notre Dame Cathedral during the early 1700s, sitting at Paris's center on the Ile de la Cité. Building started in 1163 and required almost 200 years to finish, making it one of the best examples of the French Gothic building style. The famous matching towers and beautiful round windows controlled the medieval island. Different from the open square today, Notre Dame had tightly crowded structures built directly against its outer walls. The tight streets were dark and gross, covered with horse droppings and garbage, with open drainage channels making awful odors. Even with the nasty conditions, Notre Dame stayed as Paris's religious heart, holding royal events, religious celebrations, and regular church services that everyone attended, from royalty to poor people. Currently, Notre Dame still exists on the Ile de la Cité, though the medieval structures surrounding it were removed during the 1800s. A serious fire badly damaged the cathedral in 2019, and although it reopened in 2024, complete restoration work continues today. The Hôtel de Soissons was a beautiful palace constructed for Catherine de' Medici from 1572 to 1584. Its most noticeable part was the high astronomy column tower on the right side, standing 28 meters tall and built for studying stars since Catherine loved astrology. During the 1700s, the palace belonged to the princes of Soissons and sheltered different noble families, though it wasn't a main royal home anymore. The formal gardens showed geometric patterns common in French Renaissance layouts, creating a fancy, peaceful spot in what had turned into one of Paris's most packed neighborhoods. The palace sat near Les Halles, Paris's main food marketplace since the 11th century. The nearby streets ranked among the city's busiest and dirtiest, constantly covered in spoiled vegetables, fish remains, animal blood from meat sellers, and huge piles of horse waste. The smell from the market was overpowering, and the narrow old streets were shadowy, jammed with people and muddy. The difference between these fancy palace gardens and the horrible streets just outside their gates was amazing. The palace slowly broke down and got torn down in 1748. Now, this location is part of the modern Les Halles shopping area, with nothing left of Catherine de Médicis' spectacular palace. This shows the Palais du Temple, displaying the entrance to the Knights of Malta headquarters in Paris. First built as the European stronghold for the Knights Templar during the 11th and 12th centuries, the land went to the Knights Hospitaller when the Templars were shut down in 1307. By the 1700s, this neoclassical gateway opened into the home of France's Grand Prior of Malta, usually a French prince. The temple area was a partly independent zone inside Paris, freed from regular laws and taxes. This unique position drew aristocrats wanting privacy and craftspeople wanting escape from guild rules. The neighborhood became well known for shops making expensive items outside guild control. The temple's most dramatic time happened during the Revolution, when the medieval tower turned into the jail for King Louis XVI and his family in 1792. Napoleon destroyed the whole complex from 1808 to 1811 to stop it from becoming a royalist memorial site. Today, nothing remains of this formerly powerful fortress. This is the Foire Saint-Germain, among Paris's most celebrated seasonal markets, happening every year for 6 weeks from February until Easter on the Abbey of Saint-Germain-des-Prés grounds. The stylish neoclassical galleries held hundreds of temporary stores selling fancy products, silk cloth, jewelry, books, china, and unusual imported goods. The upper floor pavilion showed theatre shows including early opera and comedy performances. Every social class mixed here, aristocrats in fancy silk jackets next to merchants and street sellers. The covered walkways also contained cafes, eating places, and gambling spots, basically making it a temporary shopping center and fun complex. The fair stopped during the Revolution in 1789, and the structures were destroyed from 1813 to 1818. Today, no signs exist of this once amazing seasonal event. This is the Hôtel de Luynes, a huge aristocratic palace owned by the Duke of Luynes, positioned along the Seine on the left side. The Luynes family were important French nobles, and their dukedom was established in 1619 for Charles d'Albert, whom King Louis XIII favored. The palace showed the living style of French high aristocrats in the 1700s. It had an elegant classical design with several wings, steep slate rooftops, and decorated fronts typical of noble homes. Getting direct river access meant both status and usefulness. Boats could bring goods and visitors straight to the palace's private dock. These aristocratic palaces held dozens of rooms for big parties, private living spaces, servants' areas, and formal gardens. The private riverside areas were kept up better than public roads, regularly cleaned by servants despite heavy pollution from the Seine. During the revolutionary time, such aristocratic wealth became controversial. Many noble palaces were destroyed during the French Revolution, and the Hôtel de Luynes no longer exists today. This is the Palace of Versailles, the amazing royal home positioned roughly 12 miles southwest of Paris. Though not actually in Paris, we had to include it in this video about 1700s France. Constructed by King Louis XIV from 1661 to 1715, he changed his father's hunting cottage into Europe's biggest palace with more than 700 rooms, huge gardens, and fancy fountains. The palace grew dramatically in the 1680s, building the massive side buildings and courtyards shown here. In 1682, he relocated the complete French court and government from Paris to Versailles, making it the political power center. Arriving nobles came through 3 separate courtyards, the palace's commanding front getting bigger with each approach. Inside, thousands of court members fought for the king's attention through complex ceremonies. On the garden side, formal areas designed by André Lenotre show geometric arrangements, fountains, and tree-lined walking paths where aristocrats walked in their best clothes. The gardens were carefully looked after, though horse droppings from constant carriages and the huge number of visitors meant things weren't as perfect as they look in paintings. But Versailles' extreme luxury cost enormous amounts using massive tax money, while regular French citizens dealt with poverty and starvation. This gap between royal wealth and public hardship would eventually spark the revolution. Currently, Versailles remains one of the world's most visited landmarks, a UNESCO World Heritage location bringing in millions of tourists each year. This is the Observatoire de Paris, among the world's oldest star-watching facilities still working. Started by King Louis XIV in 1667, the building was finished in 1672. The structure was specially made for watching the sky. Its four sides point exactly at the compass directions, and its meridian line became the reference for all French maps until the Greenwich meridian became the world standard in 1884. The observatory showed Louis XIV's dedication to science and his goal to make France the hub of European scientific success. It housed the newly started Académie des Sciences and brought in famous astronomers from all over Europe, including Giovanni Cassini, who found 4 moons of Saturn from this building. The spot was picked on Paris's southern edge, away from city smoke for better viewing. During the 1700s, this location was still partly countryside with fields and gardens. The observatory keeps working today as a top astronomical research center after more than 350 years of non-stop scientific activity. This is Les Invalides, started by King Louis XIV in 1670 as a military hospital and retirement place for injured soldiers. Before this, disabled veterans often had to beg in the streets. Louis XIV wanted to respect those who battled for France by giving them medical care and respect. The enormous complex could hold up to 4,000 veterans at once, with sleeping areas, medical rooms, workspaces, and this huge esplanade parade field. The famous Golden Dome, designed by Jules Hardouin-Mansart and finished in 1706, became one of Paris's most recognizable features. This print from around 1710 shows Les Invalides when it was brand new. Veterans lived following military rules, going to daily church services, working in shops, and joining in ceremonies. The location was cleaner than crowded central Paris, helped by open space and military upkeep. Currently, Les Invalides continues as an active military hospital and contains the Musée de l'Armée and Napoleon's burial place under the Golden Dome, which was put there in 1861. By the late 1780s, France faced serious problems. Decades of costly wars and wasteful royal spending had left the kingdom broke. Bad crop seasons made bread prices jump up while the nobility paid basically no taxes, forcing ordinary citizens to carry the whole load. When King Louis XVI called the Estates General in May 1789, the first time in 175 years, the Third Estate, representing common people, wanted real political control. The king attempted to stop them. On July 14, 1789, Paris residents attacked the Bastille prison. The French Revolution had started, and violence moved through Paris as crowds went after symbols of the old system. This shows the violent looting of Saint-Lazare prison on July 13, 1789, one day before the Bastille attack. Saint-Lazare began as a medieval hospital for lepers that became a monastery, then a jail holding people in debt and those locked up by royal commands without trials. Paris was having terrible bread shortages, and stories spread that grain was being hidden at Saint-Lazare while people went hungry. On July 13th, angry crowds rushed the complex, released about 50 prisoners, and raided the buildings. The mob grabbed stored grain, wine, and supplies, loading them onto carts to hand out in the streets. They completely wrecked the prison, breaking windows, smashing doors, and causing an estimated 400,000 lives in damage. Strangely, during the Reign of Terror from 1793 to 1794, Saint-Lazare turned into one of Paris's most feared revolutionary jails, holding aristocrats and suspected enemies of the revolution waiting for the guillotine. The complex eventually got demolished in the 1800s, and the Gare Saint-Lazare train station now sits on part of the location. This engraving by Hellman captures the Bastille attack on July 14, 1789, the day after the Saint-Lazare raid and the most famous moment of the French Revolution. The Bastille was a medieval fortress prison in eastern Paris, a hated symbol of royal control where the king could jail anyone without trials. On the morning of July 14th, thousands of Paris residents marched to the Bastille, asking for weapons and gunpowder kept inside. The fortress's leader, Bernard-René de Launay, wouldn't give up. After hours of talking, the crowd struck with cannons, and serious fighting started with gunshots and artillery, making clouds of smoke. The battle went on for about 4 hours. Almost 100 attackers died, but finally the defenders gave up. The crowd rushed in, freed the 7 prisoners kept there, and violently killed Governor de Launay and several guards. Their heads were carried through Paris on poles. Even though only 7 prisoners were discovered inside, the Bastille's capture became the revolution's key moment. It showed that regular people could beat royal power through force. The Bastille was totally torn down by November 1789. Today, the Place de la Bastille and the Colonne de Juillet monument mark the spot, and July 14th remains France's national celebration day, Bastille Day. The beautiful palaces, churches, and buildings we've looked at today show only part of the complete picture. Beyond the impressive fronts, most Paris residents lived in conditions we can hardly picture today. The concepts of freedom, fairness, and self-government that came from revolutionary Paris moved across Europe and farther, changing how we think about leadership, human rights, and communities themselves. If you liked this trip through 1700s Paris, please write below what city and time period you'd want to see next, and your city might appear in the following video. Thanks for watching, and like always, we'll meet you in the past.